Introduction: the doorway into the self. In every human life, there comes a moment when you can no longer pretend that the darkness within you does not exist. A moment where distractions fail, illusions dissolve, and the masks you have worn for years begin to slip. It is in this moment, raw, vulnerable, and disorienting, that the real work begins. Carl Jung once said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul." This is the foundation of our journey today, because to face your soul is to face all of it. Not only the fragments you have been taught to praise, but the parts you cast into the shadows, the parts you denied, the parts you feared would make you unlovable. Shadow work is not an aesthetic. It is not a trend. It is not a self-help slogan. It is the profound psychological process of reclaiming who you truly are. And in this journey, your dark side is not the enemy. It is the key. Chapter 1. What is the shadow? In Jungian psychology, the shadow refers to everything in you that has been rejected, suppressed, disowned, or forgotten. It includes your anger, your jealousy, your ambition, your sexuality, your grief, your sense of superiority, your desires, your wildness, your ego, and your power. But the shadow also holds the parts of you that were never allowed to exist. Your confidence, your creativity, your intuition, your self-worth, your untamed voice, and your unapologetic identity. You did not bury the shadow. The world buried it in you. Parents, teachers, and society, subtly or overtly, taught you what was acceptable to express and what must remain hidden. You learned that nice girls don't get angry, that good children don't question, that successful people don't rest, that women shouldn't desire too much, that men shouldn't show vulnerability, and that spiritual people shouldn't feel jealousy. You internalized these messages without awareness, and slowly, piece by piece, your authentic self slipped underground. This underground realm became your shadow, and the shadow does not disappear. It waits. Chapter 2. The shadow always speaks. We imagine that suppressing the dark side will silence it, but the shadow speaks in ways we do not recognize. It shows up in your relationships as triggers. It appears in dreams as symbols. It erupts in sudden emotions. It emerges in projections onto others. It whispers as self-sabotage. It hides inside your fears. It colors your beliefs. It shapes your patterns. When you reject your darkness, it does not vanish. It becomes a puppeteer behind the scenes of your life. Jung warned, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. You are not cursed. You are unconscious. Your patterns are not destiny. They are unintegrated fragments of you, attempting to return home. The more you avoid the shadow, the louder it becomes. Chapter 3. Why your shadow is the key. The very traits you repress are the traits that hold your power. Your anger carries your boundaries. Your jealousy carries your desires. Your fear carries your intuition. Your shame carries your humanity. Your darkness carries your creativity. Your chaos carries your transformation. Your ego carries your identity. Your sexuality carries your life force. Everything you are afraid to face is the doorway to the self you are destined to become. Jung taught that becoming whole requires meeting the shadow directly, not destroying it but integrating it. Integration is the process of reclaiming all the abandoned parts of yourself. Your voice, your desire, your instinct, your truth. It returns you to your natural state of inner unity, where no part of you is exiled. When you integrate the shadow, you do not become darker. You become clearer. You become stronger. You become real. Chapter 4. The psychology of repression. Repression is not a conscious choice. The mind suppresses whatever threatens your identity. If you believe you must always be kind, your anger becomes shadow. If you believe you must always be humble, your ambition becomes shadow. If you believe you must always be spiritual, your jealousy becomes shadow. If you believe you must always be strong, your vulnerability becomes shadow. Repression is an unconscious attempt to protect a stable self-image, even if that image is incomplete or false. But repression has a cost. Your identity becomes rigid. Your emotions become fragmented. Your mind becomes divided. Your life becomes imbalanced. The parts of you that do not fit your persona retreat into the unconscious, where they continue to influence you in subtle and disruptive ways. They appear as emotional outbursts, addictions, attachment patterns, people-pleasing, insecurity, perfectionism, rage or numbness. These behaviors are not failures. They are messages from the shadow asking to be seen. Chapter 5. The danger of denying your shadow. Jung warned that what you refuse to face gains power over you. The shadow becomes dangerous only when it is ignored. When you deny your anger, it appears indirectly as irritation, resentment, or passive aggression. When you deny your power, you give it away to others. When you deny your desire, you choose relationships that do not meet your needs. When you deny your intuition, you repeat painful cycles. When you deny your darkness, you lose your depth. A person who refuses to acknowledge the shadow becomes fragile, reactive, and dependent on others for emotional stability. They cling to perfection, control, or denial, terrified of confronting their own humanity. The shadow does not punish you, it simply demands integration. Chapter 6. Shadow projections, seeing in others what you refuse in yourself. Projection is central to Jung's theory. Whatever you suppress in yourself, you see magnified in others. If you reject your anger, you label others aggressive. If you reject your sexuality, you judge others as too much. If you reject your desire, you envy those who pursue theirs. If you reject your power, you idolize or fear powerful people. If you reject your emotional depth, you attract people who trigger it. Projection is not conscious. It is psychological outsourcing. Your mind takes the parts of yourself that you cannot accept and assigns them to another person. This is why you fall for avoidance. This is why you overgive. This is why you become childlike with men. This is why you feel misunderstood. Your shadow is choosing the relationship, not your awareness. The shadow seeks partners who reflect your unresolved inner world. Chapter 7. Within the shadow lives the self you were meant to become. Jung believed that the shadow guards the treasure of the psyche. Beneath your fear lies your courage. Beneath your grief lies your depth. Beneath your rage lies your boundaries. Beneath your shame lies your authenticity. Beneath your desire lies your creativity. Beneath your darkness lies your gold. The parts of you that frightened you are the parts that will free you. To reclaim the shadow is to reclaim your life. Chapter 8. Why most people never face their shadow. Jung believed that the greatest obstacle to psychological growth is fear of the unconscious. People avoid shadow work because it threatens their identity. It forces them to confront painful memories. It shatters illusions of moral superiority. It reveals desires they judge as wrong. It demands radical self-honesty. We spend years constructing a persona, a socially acceptable version of ourselves, and the shadow threatens that persona. So people cling to routines, distractions, relationships, addictions, spiritual bypassing, perfectionism, to be emotional avoidance, anything to avoid looking into the mirror. Jung observed, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. Most people fear this pain. They fear what they might discover. They fear their own power. This is why they never change. Chapter 9. The persona versus the shadow. The persona is the mask you show the world. The shadow is what lies behind it. Your persona might be kind, too spiritual, successful, down confident, feminine, disciplined. But the shadow holds the rejected opposites: anger, impatience, jealousy, insecurity, laziness, dominance, desire, selfishness. The more polished your persona, the larger your shadow becomes. The persona is necessary for society, but dangerous when mistaken for the true self. You can live an entire life inside your persona, disconnected from your authenticity, while the shadow sabotages you silently. Chapter 10. Shadow enforcement through relationships. Nothing reveals the shadow more quickly than relationships. Romantic relationships especially are psychological laboratories. You attract partners who reflect your wounds, your fears, your repressed desires, your unresolved childhood patterns, your unmet emotional needs, your abandoned parts of self. When you meet an avoidant, a narcissist, or an emotionally unavailable person, it is not random. They mirror the parts of you that you have not integrated. Your shadow attracts them because you suppress your boundaries. They cross them. You suppress your needs. They neglect you. You suppress your anger. They trigger you. You suppress your power. They dominate or ignore. You suppress your vulnerability. They withhold affection. You are not cursed. Your psyche is seeking integration. Relationships become teachers when you understand this dynamic. Chapter 11. The childhood root of the shadow. The shadow is formed in childhood. Children learn what is acceptable, what earns love, what earns punishment, what causes abandonment, what must be hidden, what must be exaggerated, what is too much, what is not enough. If a child expresses anger and is punished, they learn anger, unsafe shadow. If a child expresses sadness and is ignored, they learn sadness, unwanted shadow. If a child expresses confidence and is shamed, they learn confidence, arrogance, shadow. If a child expresses boundaries and is scolded, they learn boundaries, disrespect, shadow. The dark side is not truly dark. It is the set of emotional truths that were denied, and what is denied becomes unconscious. Chapter 12. The body remembers what the mind forgets. Jung understood the psyche holistically. The shadow does not only live in the mind, it lives in the body. Unexpressed anger lives in your jaw. Suppressed grief lives in your chest. Abandoned desires live in your hips. Repressed sexuality lives in your pelvis. Unspoken truth lives in your throat. Unmet needs live in your stomach. People think they have anxiety, but they actually have suppressed emotion, unresolved fears, unspoken boundaries, unmet childhood needs, repressed instincts, blocked life force. When you feel tightness, tingling, heaviness, numbness, shaking, fatigue, these are not random. These are shadow signals. The body is the first place the shadow appears, and the last place it heals. Chapter 13. Integration, the return to wholeness. Jung believed that the purpose of life is individuation, becoming whole. Integration requires 4 steps. Step 1. Awareness, acknowledging what exists within you without denial. Step 2. Acceptance, understanding that every part of you has a purpose. Step 3. Expression, allowing the repressed emotions to surface. Step 4. Embodiment, living in alignment with your authentic self. Integration is not a rejection of the persona. It is the union of persona plus shadow into the self. Chapter 14. The gold in the shadow. Jung called this phenomenon the golden shadow. The golden shadow contains your unrealized talents, your dormant potential, your creative genius, your sexual magnetism, your intuition, your authority, your charisma, your leadership, your spiritual gifts, your courage, and your boldness. Everything extraordinary about you lives in your shadow. You reject these qualities not because they are bad, but because you were taught they were too much, too loud, too powerful, too emotional, too ambitious, too confident, too sensual, too intuitive. So you buried your gold. Shadow work is the excavation of buried treasure. Chapter 15. The archetypes within you. Jung believed that every human carries universal psychic patterns called archetypes. These archetypes live below the surface of consciousness and shape your desires, your fears, your relationships, your creativity, and your behavior. The most essential archetypes for shadow integration are the shadow, the hidden self, everything you repress, the persona, the mask, everything you show the world, the anima or animus, the inner feminine in men and the inner masculine in women, the inner child, your emotional innocence and vulnerability, the wise woman or sage, your inner intuition and spiritual knowing, and the dark feminine or dark masculine, your primal instincts, your sexuality, your raw power, and your emotional depth. These do not exist outside you, they exist within, influencing your life unconsciously until you bring them to light. Archetypes are not metaphors. They are psychological forces. When you reject one, your life becomes imbalanced. When you reunite them, you become whole. Chapter 16. The Dark Feminine, the Shadow of Womanhood. The dark feminine is the most misunderstood archetype in psychology and mythology. She is not evil. She is not destructive. She is not dangerous. The dark feminine is the repressed essence of your desire, your intuition, your emotional depth, your sensuality, your independence, your magnetism, your boundaries, your inner authority, your truth, your wildness, and your ability to transform. You fear your own dark feminine because you were taught to fear her. Society praises the light feminine, sweet, soft, pretty, agreeable, nurturing. But society fears the dark feminine, bold, intuitive, honest, sensual, emotionally intense, fearless, spiritual, disruptive, and self-possessed. The dark feminine does not conform. She awakens. She destroys illusions. She rebirths you. And you cannot integrate your shadow without integrating her. She holds the keys to your boundaries. Your voice, your confidence, your self-worth, your erotic energy and your power. She is not who you become. She is who you already are when you stop shrinking. Chapter 17. Dreams, the Language of the Shadow. Jung believed that dreams are direct messages from the unconscious. Your dreams reveal your suppressed emotions, your desires, your warnings, your unresolved trauma, your projections, your fears, your hidden power. Every symbol in your dream is you. If you dream of being chased, you are avoiding a part of yourself. Falling, fear of losing control, dark rooms, unexplored aspects of the psyche. Animals, instincts trying to awaken. Shadows, repressed emotion. Lovers, animus imbalance. Locked doors, unaccessed potential. Dreams are not random. They are psychological maps. The shadow communicates through symbols because the conscious mind cannot handle direct confrontation. If you want to face your shadow, listen to your dreams. Chapter 18. The Ego Death, when your old self collapses. The shadow initiates ego death when you are ready to evolve. This feels like identity confusion, emotional intensity, questioning your relationships, loss of interest in old patterns, detachment, existential fear, spiritual awakening. Ego death is not the end of you. It is the end of your false self. The part of you built on people-pleasing, avoidance, perfectionism, external validation, childhood programming, fear of being seen. When the ego collapses, the shadow finally emerges, demanding to be integrated. This is not breakdown. It is breakthrough. Chapter 19. Shadow Integration Ritual, the Jungian Method. This is the core of the work. Step 1. Observe without judgment. Sit with your emotions as witnesses, not enemies. Step 2. Name the shadow. Say, this is anger. This is envy. This is desire. This is fear. Naming dissolves shame. Step 3. Ask the shadow what it needs. Every emotion is a messenger. Anger, a boundary. Envy, to desire. Fear, caution. Shame, unmet validation. Sadness, release. Jealousy, unmet needs. Desire, energy. Intuition, guidance. Step 4. Honor the message. Take action that aligns with the emotion's truth. Step 5. Unify the fragments. Say to yourself, nothing in me is against me. Every part of me belongs. This is individuation. This is psychological rebirth. Chapter 20. Why your dark side holds the key. Your dark side is not your downfall. It is your doorway. It holds your confidence, your emotional depth, your strength, your sexuality, your individuality, your power, your intuition, your authenticity, your wisdom. You cannot become whole without descending into yourself. You cannot awaken without confronting your unconscious. You cannot become free without reclaiming your shadow. Jung wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. The darkness is not outside you. It is the forgotten part of you that wants to come home." Final chapter, the acceptance of wholeness. You are not meant to be perfect. You are meant to be whole. Wholeness includes your light, your shadow, your pain, your desire, your fear, your courage, your wildness, your softness, your grief, your intuition, your anger, your love. To be whole is to be real. To be whole is to be human. Your dark side is not your enemy. It is your evolution. Your wounds are not your shame. They are your wisdom. Your fear is not your weakness. It is your threshold. Your shadow is not your prison. It is your portal. Walk toward it. Honor it. Integrate it. Because your darkness does not diminish your light. It completes it. To watch more inspirational videos like this, kindly hit like and subscribe button.